Jing Wei.
Hey everybody, what is going on? My name is, as you know, Rundown, and I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks that I've learned with Jing Wei, the newest ADC added to Smite. There's a lot of things that Hyris doesn't really make
This is gonna
appropriately
be
clear
fun.
about the god, so I'm going to go over a few of those here and explain, because there's just a lot of things I want to go over about her. So starting off with Jing Wei, a little bit about her. Her passive, which you're going to be seeing on screen here in just a moment. She steps out of well and she gets to fly anywhere she wants. Just one quick note about this is it is on a timer, 5 seconds, and movement speed does have a slight variation of it. When I tested it, it was like barely 1 second of holding W difference. Like it basically made no difference as far as how far you would go, but movement speed did have a factor on how far you would go. So just kind of keep that in mind with it. Her first ability, cutting back to it, her first ability is a ground targeter that you place it on the ground and knocks up enemies if they walk into it. If they leave it, walk back into it, they'll be knocked up again. If they decide for whatever reason to sit in it, they will take damage over time. Her 2 is a steroid that increases the size of her auto attacks, as well as gives them a crit chance, as well as AoE. So they do AoE, crit chance, lifesteal, like all that kind of fun stuff. Her number 3 is a dash. She can dash in the air, and you will dash wherever you are looking, so keep that in mind. And her ultimate is a forward striking ult, very, very similar to Koku Khan, except his ulti actually matters in a team fight, whereas hers is kind of more for show. At least right now, it's very, very weak, and her windup is like too long. It's just ridiculous. Like 1.5 seconds is just way too long, which isn't already mentioned. Like you think her 4 is like near instant, and it takes forever. So I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate how long it takes.
Incoming!
That's one of I think the very few changes I would really like to make to her right away is I would say her ult needs to be quicker. Not like super quick. Like it doesn't need to be like instant, but it doesn't. There's no reason it needs to take Thanatos line. Like it takes the same time as Thanatos and Thor does, and Thanatos has an execute attached to his ultimate, and Thor has a giant stun attached to his ultimate. Her ultimate's just going to do damage. It doesn't knock up or have any CC attached to it. It's just damage. And yeah, she repositions, but it's not even quite as far. So there's no reason for her ultimate to have the same windup as theirs, in my opinion. I think that's ridiculous. It should be 1 second. Like, even Ratatasker, like, Ratatasker's ult does damage, but he's able to displace himself much farther away. Like, I can't see the justification for her ultimate being such a long windup. I think it's ridiculous. I think it needs to be 1 second at the longest. But that's just me. So I want to go over a little bit about her 1. Her 1 is very, very poorly explained in the tooltip as far as what it does. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you right now.
Away we go!
Place it down, knock up. Oh no, I'm in the air. Oh no, I'm in the air. That's pretty much what it does. I can sit in it and I won't be knocked up anymore. The 1 will keep you going in a direction. So if I'm moving, I will keep my momentum. Her wave clear with the 1 is really, really weird. It will only damage the creep hit by the initial burst of it. If they walk into it when it's already sitting there, they'll just take the dot damage. Boom! Shit on those creep. I'm doing nothing to those creep. So her 1 for wave clear is really bad. Like, it's not very consistent. So far, I think the best way to clear waves with her, like, yeah, you can use the 1, but it's not really that good. Besides Golden Bow, because Golden Bow is stupid right now. I think it's just going to be to stack them up. And then use a 3. Like, I think it's going to be the best way to do it. To clear waves. I think the 1's really, really poor for clearing waves. So getting into a little bit more information about the 1, when I was talking about the 1 keeps momentum. So bear in mind, like if I want to knock this Odin up, I'm actually going to knock him away from the center. So wherever the center is, if they're hit when you activate it, they will be knocked away from the center if no momentum is present. So if I'm moving forward, so I'm going to just go ahead and show you what I mean by that.
Going up?
You see, we both moved in different directions, although I had momentum going where he didn't, so he was knocked away. Kind of show you a little bit here, but a little more about that.
Away we go!
So I can knock him away, and which way he goes, he will continue to go that way. It's kind of cool. One tip, whenever someone's in the air, if you want to be a little bit more accurate shooting them, just shoot at the little ground targeter. If you try to shoot at where they're at in the sky, you're actually going to miss more times. So yeah, a little bit of a tip. Kind of going a little bit farther into the 1 does CC you. which is a terrible idea, especially if you're versing on a Wheelix, because a Wheelix is a very strong counterpick to this god. So if I walk into it, I'm knocked up, and this is a huge liability, especially for team fights, because you don't really want to like sit in this, because I mean it's just an awful idea. You never want to get knocked up in a team fight. It will NCC yourself, so don't do that. One thing I have found about the number 1 that's really cool is let me place this down.
Away we go!
I can jump into it and still get the steroid. So what I'm doing there is I'm just jumping. I don't have jump bound to spacebar for me. For me, it's my mouse wheel button, my scroll up. So because if I scroll up by accident in a team fight, I don't want to be looking more at that booty, because I think she's like 15 and that's kind of wrong. Anyway, so place this one down, jump into it, get this steroid, just walk out. If I want it again, jump into it before it's over, and I can just keep the steroid going forever. So that's pretty unique. Like if we're in a lane, I can jump into this, like help clear the wave super quick with golden bow, and then before it's over, jump into it, get it again, and now I can box the ADC with 25% more movement speed or the hex speed. So it's really strong. Alright, so moving farther down the list here, I pretty much explained everything I want to about the 1. I'm going to start talking about the 2. So the 2 is unique in that it actually makes your auto attacks bigger. So you can see here I got these little tiny auto attacks. Little tiny auto attacks. They don't hit them. They don't do it. Look at that. They're so cute. But if I use my 2,
Light 'em up!
suddenly I can hit him. Look at that shit. There is one other god who actually has this effect, and it is Freya. Freya's auto attacks actually do get big. They're bigger than normal ADCs. Normal ADCs are about this size. Freya's are actually a lot bigger. So that's like that's why she struggles if she's in a lane versus an enemy god to actually hit past creep and hit a god, whereas most ADCs don't really struggle with that. Like if there's an ADC walking, I could hit the ADC like this, but if I'm Freya, this would be impossible. I'd be like mashing this creep, trying to shoot past him and hit him. Like it's a miserable experience.
Going up?
So, but there's something unique about her too that's really strong. Let's say I activate my 2. And, you know, nothing happens with a team fight. I got my 3 shots. I'm like, damn, nothing happened. Well, let me just go into lane. Ah, la. Oh, no, an Odin. Bam, 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 bam. Yes, so activating her 2 starts the cooldown. So what that means is, let's say, like, you're in base. If you're in base, you should always activate your 2 and leave, because it's a free spell. Like, it's going to go ahead and go on cooldown. By the time you get to the lane, you'll already have, like, your next 3 shots. Even if it doesn't matter, it's still a free spell and it's already on cooldown. So what this means, if there's a team fight getting ready to happen, go ahead and pre-lock your 2, so that when the team fight starts, you can get 6 shots. That's huge. Like, it's absolutely massive. So I'm just kind of messing around right now. Yeah. So it's absolutely huge. Yeah, so that's what makes the 2 really strong. Alright, so the next one I want to go over is her dash. Her dash is really unique in that you can, like, if you get thrown up in the air, you can still use it. But bear in mind, it is a dash. So even though it does say dash, like, a Wheelix can pull me, a Wheelix can pull me, a Wheelix... No. A Wheelix can still pull you. You are still suspended in the air as a knock-up. You are just dashing while in the air. So even though I do this...
Away we go!
A Wheelix can still pull me the entire time. So just keep that in mind. I keep mentioning a Wheelix because she's such a good, strong counterpick to this, and you should know how to fight against it. Alright, so starting off with the dash, I'm going to use this inner rings here as a system, as like just sort of a measurement kind of tool. So the dash is actually slightly longer than 30 units. That's going to be to this inner ring here. Not entirely sure how Hi-Rez came up with 35 units to be a perfect dash, whatever, but it's 35 units. When you are knocked up, it should be 55 units. However, movement speed and when you actually press the 3 do have an effect. So in the perfect world, it is 55 units. So if I stand dead center, I will go 55 units to the end of that. However, if I hit it, if I'm at the tippy top, I will go a little bit farther. So I'm a little bit farther. Let's just say, whatever, we'll just say it's 55 units. You guys are going to nitpick and be like, that's 55 units run down. If I hit it as soon as I get in, I'm going to go shorter. See how I didn't go quite as far? That does make a slight difference, and being able to tell when you're at the max jump is really easy. I found a trick for it. It's going to be whenever, so you want to go up in the air, I lift my hand up. Whenever I start to put my hand down is when you should dash. And you'll get the maximum range you can. So just kind of remember that for the dash. Whenever your hand is going down is when you should jump. Obviously adjust it for your ping whenever, like if you're on like absolutely shit servers or you're Australian playing on NA servers, you want to do it earlier. If you have good ping, then as soon as my hand goes down, I should be dashing. And I'll go 55 units, which is pretty nice. That's basically auto attack range, which means you'll always get out of auto attack range. So yeah, it's really, really nice. Dashing when not, obviously, is 35 units, so if you want to get your extra, 55, 35, me American, me don't know how to do math. 20? You want to get your extra 20 units. Jump in the air. I think. I don't know, me American, me don't need to do math. Me have calculator. So just to add a little bit more about the 1 and 3, the 1, you can jump over player deployables. It's a little strange on how it works, because just basically know that while your hand is up, you are knocked up, which means you can go over player deployables. Ymir wall, Odin wall, Thor wall, it doesn't matter. As long as your hand is up. So if you notice, I lower my hand right before the end of my 1. So what this means is, let's say there's a Ymir wall, I don't know. Let's say, I need something that kind of be a Ymir wall. Let's say this little circle right here is a Thor wall, whatever. This thing right here, the thing I'm walking on, this. If that's a Thor wall and I do this for my 1, I will not go over it. Even though I will be in the air, I still won't go over it. In order to get over a Thor wall, I will actually have to place it like this.
Away we go!
Because I'm technically have my hands up, so I will go over that Thor wall. As far as the dash, it makes it a little bit quicker. So like I just get farther away from the Thor wall, but the only thing that matters is that your hand is up. When your hand is up, you are knocked up, and you have the power. You have the power in your hand, the whole world. I got the whole world in it. Yeah, you get it. Alright, and I want to spend the last part of this video kind of going over how she differs from other ADCs as far as strengths and weaknesses. As far as mobility goes, I don't feel like the 1-3 combo is quite as good as an escape as other ADCs, because it requires 2 abilities to be off cooldown, and basically requires me to not use my 1 offensively. Like, I would love to use my 1 offensively, knock somebody up, and then like jump into it, get the steroid, and go pew, pew, pew. But if I want to get away now, I'm like,
I'm out of here.
It's so kind of pitiful. Like, the dash regularly isn't quite as strong as getting the extra 20 units from your 1. So as far as an escape goes, I don't feel like she's a very good escape god. Because, like I said, her escape isn't that strong. It's fast, but it's not quite as strong. And consumes 2 abilities, which, let's take a look at that. That's 90 plus 75 mana. That's, like, a lot of mana. Me and American, me don't need to do math. It's 133 mana. Kappa. It's a lot of mana. It's 65 mana. Which means that the 2 abilities combined together are going to consume 165 mana.
By George, he's got it! By George, he's got it!
Me American, me don't need to do math. Versus other gods, as far as damage goes, like how does she stack up versus other ADCs? Her damage is about medium. She's at an 88 damage, with the lowest being Artemis at 76, and Hou Yi being the hardest hitting at 94. So she doesn't quite hit as hard as the hardest ADCs in the game, but she is a little bit more on the heavy side. 88 being pretty close to 94, and farther away from 76 and 81, whereas Artemis and Cupid are at. As far as attack speed, she's actually one of the fastest attacking gods as far as ADCs in the game. The fastest being Cupid at 1.29, and the slowest being Hou Yi at 1.12. Jing Wei actually falls in at 1.28, so she is like 0.01 slower than the fastest attacking ADC. Especially with this attack speed buff. Like, she's just crazy. That's awesome. It's basically like, I don't know, it's basically just awesome. I love having that attack speed buff. I hate that it's on such a long cooldown when you're not like full cooldown. Yeah, that is what it is. And I also hate that it knocks you up if you fuck up the jump in. Her auto attacks are slightly to the right. So if we take a look at her auto attacks, wings, pew. You can see they are slightly to the right. So what this means is that like if I'm shooting the enemy ADC and I want to strafe, I should be more accurate strafing to the right than I will be strafing to the left. If I want to strafe to the left, I kind of gotta leave my shots farther to the left than I do anyone else. Which strafing to the right is gonna favor Jing Wei, because most people actually strafe to the left. So, you know, unlearn that, guys. Strafe to the right. So that's going to be pretty much it on everything that I have found on Jing Wei that's not really listed, but should be listed, or should be knowledge. So yeah, if you have any questions about any of the other gods, you know, feel free to ask them in the comment section down below. If you have any questions about Jing Wei, I'll try to do my best to answer them from at least what little I've probably played of her up to this point. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Alright guys, later. But that's gonna be pretty much it on Jing Wei as far as like little tiny nuances or so that's gonna be pretty much it on stretch.